Hello everyone, this is Manjula Devi P, Assistant Professor in GFGC Kanakpura. In this session, we are discussing about strategic management of BBA 6th semester in that Unit 2 Environment Appraisal. In this session, we are talking about value chain analysis. So, what is value chain and what is the analysis of this value chain? Through this analysis, how competitive advantage can be achieved is all the subject matter of this session. So, let us see what is value chain analysis and what are value chain activities. So, first I would like to take up value chain, then we will go to value chain analysis. Value chain represents the internal activities a firm engages in when transforming inputs into outputs. So, you all know about inputs and outputs. Input is all those material, resources, labor, technology, all that we put in order to convert that into a output. Now, all those activities, right from your procurement of the raw material, conversion of the raw materials into finished product, procurement of laborers, the way the laborers are trained, and then the packing, then the dispatch, then your channels of delivery. So, all those things. So, all those activities right from the input to the output, all those activities are called as the value chain. Like each activity leads to the other activity, so that from initial input to the final output will come, whether it is for product or service. Okay, you have set of activities, okay, in a sequential order. That is called as the value chain. Now, what is this value chain analysis? So, in this case, it is a process where a firm identifies its primary and support activities that add value to its final product and then analyze these activities to reduce costs or increase the differentiation. So, here in the internal activities, what we have right from the input to the final output, all those activities, I divide those activities into primary activity and support activity. Okay. So, primary activities are those activities which are directly involved in the production. Support activity, like primary activity could be all those the production process, the activity that happens within the factory, maybe your different departments, even the procurement of raw materials, then where it is stored, and then how it is being dispatched to the factory for the production this thing, and in the production what are the different processes or what are the different department it passes through. So, they are all part of your primary activity. Then what are support activity? So, maybe in the factory you have a canteen, you have a dispensary, you have a warehouse, you have say a pump house. So, all those activities like a service activity which are needed for this production process. Anyway, for doing this primary activity as well as the support activity, there we have to incur the cost, isn't it? So, first what we are doing when we are doing value chain analysis, we are identifying all those activities and we are dividing them into primary and secondary, and we are analyzing at each stage what is the value addition that is done in order to make it as a final product, and then analyze if there is any chance of reducing any cost in any of the activity so that we can have a competitive advantage, maybe in terms of reduced costs or in terms of increasing the differentiation. So, this is called as the value chain analysis. Then again, what is the entire concept of this value chain model? So, this is a strategy tool used to analyze the internal firm activities. Like you would have heard about the concept cost control or cost reduction, isn't it? So, where constantly the firm indulges in identifying those activities where they can reduce the cost or where the production can be done in a more economical way without compromising the quality. Okay, it is similar concept to that. You are basically identifying, it's a tool where you are identifying to see the primary and secondary activities and see the cost associated to it and find out if there is any scope that you can reduce the costs by making some alteration in it. So the main goal of this value chain model is to recognize the activities recognize the activities which are more valuable to the firm, which ones could be improved to provide a competitive advantage. So here not just to identify the scope for the cost reduction, but at the same time what are the activities which can be improved, the process where the more value addition can be done so that you can have a competitive edge in the market. So here again we have Michael Porter's generic value chain model. In the previous session when we discussed about competitive advantage through cost advantage or through differentiation advantage, here also we will talk about the similar concept. Again, even that was from the Michael Porter, even this is from Michael Porter himself. So this generic value chain model came in 1985. He came up with the idea of generic value chain model. Again, according to him, value chain represents all internal activities a firm engages to produce goods or services. So same thing, to produce in the production process, whether to produce goods or service, what are the activities in line when you line it up? So what are the different activities which the firm engages in? Then after those activities are identified, then you are sorting it out as a primary activity and the support activities. Primary activities that add value to the final product directly. So all your production process through different departments, through different processes comes under primary activity. When it comes to support, all these activities which add value indirectly, maybe your packing, maybe your storage, maybe the distribution channel that you are adopting. So all those things comes as your support activities. So here if you see the industry value chain and the company value chain, for example, as I told, the production process, it is right from the raw material. So how you procure the raw material, through which suppliers, through which locality, or are you spending more amount on the transportation, that is on the carriage inwards, or what is your economic order quantity? Are you ordering at the quantity which is more economical, where your cost of storage and the cost of order is minimal, okay? Or are you buying too bulk and making storage in the warehouse where there are chances of your deterioration of the raw material through theft or pilferage or through it getting damaged? So all those things comes under this raw material concept, like through which means or through what quantity you are basically procuring your raw material. So each decision here, that means from which place, from which supplier, from which what quantity you are ordering, all those activities actually have its own impact on the cost structure. Then intermediate goods. So not just the raw materials, you need whole lot of other supportive intermediate goods which may not be part of the final product, but it is used in the process of production. So how are you procuring them? So again, same thing, the supplier, the logistics, the quantity in which you are buying, so all that matters. Then manufacturing, very importantly, so how is your manufacturing process, the flow of your work, how is your factory layout, is there any unnecessary movement of the men and material, or is it scientifically planned, your layout in such a way that one after the production department, like it is lined up in such a way, whether you are again different factory layouts are there in present depending on the type of manufacturing that you are indulged into. Now is that layout whatever you have designed and the process what you have designed, is it economical or is it more scientific, or is there any scope of wastage of time, wastage of labor through unnecessary movement, or wastage of material through unnecessary transportation within the organization? That they have to look into the activities in manufacturing. Then your marketing and sales. So what are the channels that you are using, or what are the ways through which you are actually pushing your product into the market? So your entire marketing channel comes into picture, and through which stockist, or through how are you making a direct sales? Are you selling it through your wholesalers? Are you having a direct dealership? So all those things, or any or is there any model where you can keep your cost minimum through this marketing or sales activity, or are you having a tie-up with the logistics, outbound logistics company to help you out in the distribution? So all those study comes under industry value chain. Then after sales services. So how are you providing the after sales services? Like all the maintenance and everything, are you doing on your own, or are you tied up with an external agency? So all those things comes, all those activities comes in the industry value chain. Again, when it comes to a specific company, your inbound logistics means how you are getting your raw material, the same concept. Then operation, how is your production process is happening? So how the goods are going out of the industry, through which channel? Do you have your own vehicles, or have you hired the vehicles, or have you entirely outsourced this entire process of outbound logistics? Which is more economical, having your own vehicle, your own drivers, is it more economical, or hiring the vehicle is more economical, or outsourcing the entire outbound logistic, is it economical? So depends on your quantity and depends on the location where you are operating. So all these things matter. Then again your marketing and sales, after sales services. So for all these activities, you line up, for all these processes, you jot it down, what are the different activities you are conducting, and what are the best alternatives which are available, and the cost associated with each alternative. So then you will get to know about the value chain activities and the scope for the improvement and the scope for the reduction of the cost, if there is any. So again, approaches to perform value chain. So now when I am doing the value chain analysis, what is that I am keeping in mind? Okay, I am keeping in mind to achieve the competitive advantage. Means I want to achieve the superiority in the market on the competitors or on the industry average. So I can achieve this through cost advantage or through differentiation advantage. What is cost advantage? Basically, in this concept, I am achieving a competitive advantage by selling my products at the same price as the competitor, but I am achieving a higher profit margin because I am able to keep the cost of production minimum compared to them. So here I am achieving a cost advantage, I am keeping my production costs lower so that my profit margin is higher compared to the industry average or compared to the competitors. So the example of the companies which have achieved cost advantage thing are Amazon, Walmart, McDonald's, Ford, Toyota. So these companies have found the way to produce the goods at the lower cost compared to its competitors so that they can enjoy the higher profit margin through doing this value chain analysis, by identifying all the activities and figuring out which activity can be altered or reduced or taken care by, where the cost can be reduced. Then I have differentiation advantage. So in this case, the firm strive superior to its competitors by providing superior products or services and also by charging the premium price for it. So they have created their own segment in the market, the posh segment in the market, where they are offering unique products and services. Even in the previous session also we discussed about it, and I gave the example again and again. I am quoting the same Apple example because they are the market leaders, I would say, when we talk about the differentiation. So where the products are unique, they are providing the unique products, of course at a premium price, but still there is a huge customer base for them and they have that position in the market. And Google, Samsung Electronics, Starbucks, so here they are providing, they are having that products and services, superior products and services, and charging the high price. So how are they achieving it? Again, by doing the value chain analysis, by seeing what are the activities through which they can add something, or through which they can alter something, where that their product or service become unique compared to the other product or service in the market. So how do they achieve the cost advantage? Through which step the cost advantage can be achieved? First and foremost, identify the primary and support activities, then establish the relative importance of each activity. So how important it is for the production process, okay? Then the cost associated to it, right from buying the raw material, from the place where it has to be bought, from which supplier, what is the trade discount that he can offer, what would be the transportation cost to bring that raw material to your place. So right from there you are identifying each activity. Then again, after it comes to the factory, so how long it has to stay in the warehouse before it is released for production. Again, in the production, what is the process or sequence that it has to pass through? Is there any repetition? Is your factory layout ideal or optimal? So where there is minimum movement of men and material, there is no wastage of time or resources in the production process, where your wastage percentage is much less, or your damage of the goods or any loopholes in the production process is kept minimal, okay? And what is the cost associated at each stage of production, okay? Then identify cost drivers for each activity. Cost drivers means the cost that is arising because of that activity. Suppose when I say purchase of raw material, the cost drive would be the transportation cost of the raw material, the purchase price itself, and the packing or unpacking charges. So all those things becomes the cost drive. Again, in the production process, when you are producing, the cost of moving that material to that particular production department and the process involved, the cost involved in that becomes the cost drive for that. So for each activity, what is the cost that actually leads is the cost drive. Then identify the links between the activities. So again, so here you are sequencing it in a more logical way. So where you are sequencing what are the sequence in which the product has to move. So you are finding if there is any loopholes. Then identify the opportunities for reducing the cost. So once you have a clear-cut idea about this value chain, once you have the clear-cut sequence from where to where the product moves and what are the different cost drives in each stage, so then you can find out if there is any chance of reducing the cost. So maybe in your inbound logistics, that means to bring the goods to your place, you are bringing in your own vehicle. So maybe that is more expensive, because you need to have your own vehicle, you need to have a driver, you need to have fuel, you need to have insurance for your vehicle and things like that. So instead you can get attached to one logistic company and they will supply you the goods. You just order it online or through whatever the mode to your supplier, and the logistic company with which you have attached to, they will bring it to you. Of course they will have a charge. Compare what is the cost of that and what is the cost of having your own vehicle, your own driver, and at your own expense. So see whichever is lower, then adopt that. So you are achieving a cost advantage. Same way for any production process. or if there is any activity in your production process which can be outsourced. Instead of you sitting and manufacturing that product, what is the cost of it, or that component, that particular component, can it be bought from outside, the same quality, the same thing, that you can get it from elsewhere at a less cost. So your labor, your time, your so much of machinery, your factory space, everything can be saved because you are just outsourcing from the outsider. So you have to do this cost analysis. So which activity there is a scope for reducing the cost, maybe through outsourcing, maybe through reducing it, or maybe through maybe buying it bulk, or purchasing it bulk, or producing it bulk and keeping it. So you have to figure out the way in which you can reduce the cost. So this is if you are going for a competitive advantage through the cost advantage principle. Then if you go for differentiation advantage, so you want to achieve competitive advantage in the market through differentiation. Like you want to be unique in the market. You don't want to be competing with all others through the same or similar product and through with the similar cost. You want to, keep yourself aside or apart from the entire lot, from the mass. You want to be unique. So in such case, how can you achieve it? What are the different steps? First, we have identifying the consumer's value creating activity. So out of your goods or service, which is that factor which actually gives more utility or which creates more value? Suppose I am talking about the wristwatch. Of course, there are so many brands of wristwatch. Now in the wristwatch, what is that unique element which creates that value creating? Anyway, wristwatch, the basic purpose is to see the time. It should show you the correct time. But any watch that you buy shows you the correct time if you set it at, isn't it? But what is so unique about it? The outer appearance, the dial design, or the style of it, of course the brand. So all that creates that uniqueness among the customers. So identify what is that. Maybe the entire dial is made of diamond, maybe the case is made of pure platinum, isn't it? So that gives a completely a different image for the consumer. So identify what are the value creating activities. Then evaluate the differentiation strategies for improving customer value. So here identify through which way, by doing what. Suppose there are wristwatches where it doesn't have any cell or something. So it runs through the pulse of the individual. Okay, it's a unique thing. So where there is no battery or cell, it just runs through the pulse of the individual. So that is something unique, isn't it? Then again, there are so many such products which is unique, and of course it is not same as any other product. So now we have come up with like when it is electronics, or when it is even the clothing. So you would have heard about the designers, say Sabyasachi or people like that, where they charge for one lehenga or for one set, it goes in lakhs. Okay, but still people go who can afford it because it is patented. The design or whatever the dress that they stitch, it is unique. They will never repeat that to any other customer. Even the jewelry has come up with that concept. Like you are having a jewelry means it's just yours. Like nobody can imitate that design. It's patented. That means they are offering such differentiation service. Like in clothing, in I think almost in every product it has come. Even the house designing, like the interiors or exteriors, where it's just the unique design. Nobody else can construct in that way because you are patented. That's your design. So that means they are providing a differentiation advantage where being unique in the market, and of course it comes at a premium cost as well. But they don't bother about the cost. They just want to be unique. They just want to be special in the market. So then finally identify the best sustainable differentiation. So in which way you want to differentiate, in the appearance or in the service or the way the performance of the product or service. So in which form you want to make your own differentiation. So we have mainly two strategies to achieve competitive advantage according to Michael Porter. First one was the cost advantage, where you are having an edge by reducing your cost and having more profit compared to your competitors. The other one is where you are achieving your competitive advantage through differentiation. You are providing unique product or service and you are having your own image in the market, through which you are achieving the competitive advantage. So this is as per the Michael Porter's generic advantage principle. So if I just have to recap of what we discussed in this session. So we discussed about value chain, the meaning of value chain. So these are the internal activities, both primary and support activities are called as the value chain. Value chain analysis means analyzing this each activity, both primary as well as secondary activities, and identifying if there is any scope for reducing the cost or making that particular activity so unique that it creates a differentiation in the market. Okay. So for this we have a theory of Michael Porter. So it has come up in 1985. According to him, the value chain analysis can lead to competitive advantage. The competitive advantage can be in two ways. One is by creating the cost advantage. The other one is by creating the differentiation advantage. And the ways of creating competitive advantage and the ways of creating differentiation advantage is also clearly mentioned in his theory. So hope you understood this session. You can go for the further references which I have used for preparing the material. You can go through with it further. Hope you have enjoyed the session. So we'll meet in the next session. Thank you very much.